Welcome back to another episode of the Budget Built Miata, presented by Nankang Motorsports and Race Pack. Today we do the last but probably most important job on this car, replacing that slipping clutch with this unit. As you'll already know if you've been following this build from the beginning, this car has a slipping clutch and a very noisy release bearing. We drove it up and down the street here and it was not great. So this upgrade is a necessity, and of course the SPEC Stage 2 kit includes this release bearing, which will get rid of that squeaky clutch pedal. And the Stage 2 disc has a torque capacity of 260 foot-pounds, so this more than covers the whopping maybe 100 foot-pounds that this motor makes stock.
Oh, that's funny.
And would cover us too if we were to turbocharge it or supercharge it, although frankly I think if we were going to up the ante with this car we might swap the motor. What do you think?
Who knows?
Pete?
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of seeing what this would do with a turbo,
It would be cool.
I am very tempted for a K-swap because
Yeah,
8,000
always.
RPMs of goodness is never a bad idea.
Always tempting.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves, right?
We are. First things first, let's make this car run well as it is. So this, by the way, uses a Kevlar friction material front and back. Obviously, it's got a sprung hub. The street drivability of this is apparently very similar to their Stage 1, so it should drive very close to stock, but with the added torque capacity of this friction material. Obviously, it comes with a pressure plate, that's what it's called. Comes with a nice pressure plate in SPEC's signature blue. And best of all, perhaps, we're gonna free up a bit of horsepower here, Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Reducing the rotating mass with this lightweight aluminum flywheel. In our experience, SPEC's aluminum flywheels are about half the weight of the OE flywheel, so we'll give them a quick weigh at maybe when we get the stock one out, but I will bet my bottom dollar that this will be about 50% lighter than stock. And for those of you who've never tried a lightened flywheel, really the beauty of this is the way the motor revs up. So it revs up quicker, and I think it makes it easier to heel and toe, Pete. Do you think that's fair to say?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Especially on the racetrack.
It'll also drop revs faster too, so if you're slow at changing gears, it can actually not be ideal. And of course for drag racing guys like big heavy flywheels. So this is really better for you heel and toe type guys that are autocrossing or road racing or doing silly things with other YouTubers like we plan to do with this car. So it's a little rundown. Since Pete and I have never done a clutch job in a Miata before, we are sourcing some good information in the form of a factory service manual. And to do that, we went to emanualonline.com, where you can download a PDF file of the factory manual just like this. And this particular manual is listed on their site for $25.99, but they've been kind enough to actually offer us a discount code, a 30% discount code. So we'll put a link in the description to that, and you can go buy this manual for what would be $18 instead of $26. They have pretty much every manual for every car you could possibly imagine. They have a list there of like thousands and thousands of them. So.
Well, this clutch job has turned into a battle with rust. I kind of feel like I just want to set this car on fire right now. That's the
Easy now, easy.
I just broke 3 bolts trying to get this exhaust system down here, like the front pipe. So all 3 bolts mating it to the header snapped. Okay, first problem. Then there's the bell housing bolts were also a nightmare. If you just saw it, it took forever to get them out. Also very corroded. Back here, I was going to try to remove this exhaust in one piece. I was like, okay, you know what? Whatever, we broke that back there. We can still salvage this exhaust system. So I was trying to remove this bar here, and guess what? The bolt broke. This broke right here now. So we have to fix that. At this point, I'm kind of thinking we're just gonna have to ditch this exhaust system. Like there's no way to get this off and saving it. Like look at this. This is an example of what we're working with. If I try to separate this, it may come apart here, but the flanges are so rusted, you can't even fix this. Like this has been together for probably the life of the car, and you try to fix this, it's not gonna happen. We're not gonna be able to put it back together. So I think I'm gonna make an executive decision and tack on probably $500 onto this budget to have to replace this exhaust system. If you guys wanna post in the comments what you use, I may actually have to replace the header. So we're looking for kind of a budget header that's gonna be decent, so the flange isn't warped, so it's gonna seal properly, and it's gonna be able to take the heat of track abuse without really breaking the bank. Exhaust system, I think I'm just gonna settle for one of the cheaper units out there. I'm not sure, but definitely post in the comments. And I guess it is time to just sawzall this thing and move forward. My favorite time, Milwaukee Sawzall with our torch blade. I found these blades work exceptionally well through cutting through metal here, such as exhaust systems. So let's get to this. This feels good to do this actually.
Therapeutic, right?
Yeah, after all that damn rust. Yes.
We're through.
We are through. Oh, God.
You ate a little Miata there?
A lot of me out of there. All right. Now I can pull this system off here.
Look at this pose, everyone. It's like you can flex
The
mode
fight
here.
is real here. Oh, there's one more hanger. I didn't even see that bastard. See? Miata always surprises here.
This is a family show, Peter. You gotta, you know.
Not anymore, it's not. This is a...
The rest turned it into a...
This is turning out... Oh!
Almost blew out the O-ring there.
All right, well, so long Miata exhaust. It was good while it lasted. And up here.
Yeah, I don't want that thing falling on my head.
No, you don't. Oh, come on. All right. Here it comes.
Here she comes.
Oh, I forgot the sensor.
Oh, the O2
That's
sensor.
a critical mistake.
All
It's
right.
going to be rotted too. Come on. Why? Oh, Miata.
Suddenly you love the Miata, Peter.
Remember a few episodes back where I said, oh, this car is such a joy to work
So
on.
easy,
There's
so
much space."
simple. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good old
Oh, yeah.
days of Japanese engineering.
Oh, you know what the problem now is? Our O2 sensor's in the way
Oh,
here.
it's hooked on something?
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's not gonna come out here because the O2 sensor needs to come out. Sensor's out. Not without a battle, of course. Let's see if I can... Oh, okay, there it
There
is.
she is. What a beaut she is, too.
You know, I spent all that time fixing the heat shielding on here for
I
nothing.
know.
So, what I want to show you here real quick is what happened up in this area. Look at,
Oh, yeah.
every stud broke off.
Oh,
This
yeah.
one didn't, but it actually like cross-threaded itself, so they're all done. Which begs the question, like, what are we supposed to do here? Because having to take those studs out, I think is going to be a nightmare without trying to remove the header. So if we're taking the header off, so I said we might as well just buy an aftermarket one at this point, right?
Make that extra 3-4 horsepower,
Oh,
PT.
10, 15, come on, the Miata Bros.
Snapping
no.
necks with that header on there.
Exactly. Well, that was harder than it should have been, and the reason is I didn't take the shifter out. We have the manual, and somehow I missed that step. So if you're doing this job, remember, remove the shifter, and the transmission will come out. The clutch itself is pretty worn out. I'm not gonna say it's dead, but it's certainly worn out. So that was probably the culprit of our slipping issue. And more importantly, check out the throwout bearing. It is fully nuked. That sucker is not working well at all. You can just, does not spin. We had a big leak in and around the bottom of this area. Dave and I thought it was the main seal, but it looks like it may be coming from the rear portion of the valve cover gasket. So if you Miata guys have any pointers, if that's a very common area for leakage, definitely let us know in the comments. We, however, are going to replace this main seal just because we're here and I already ordered one. Because if it turns out it is, I don't want to have to go through all of this again. Let's see what our weight is for our stock flywheel. 17.2. And our SPEC flywheel, I think you guessed right, DP. It's going to be half the weight.
They're always half the weight.
They always are. Ooh, this one's so light. 8.4. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much exactly half the weight.
Pretty much half the weight. I'm not going to weigh the pressure plate and the clutch because
it'll be similar.
These are going to be the same. This is really where you get your weight savings.
Yep.
So without further ado, we are going to bolt this bad boy on and then get the clutch on. And now we torque all these beauties to 73 foot-pounds. Actually, it's between 71 and 75, right, DP?
Yep, you got it.
Bam. Now it's time to install our clutch. Obviously, I clean the flywheel with some brake cleaner, and our pressure plate. Gotta line up the yellow mark there with the dowel. You can't really see, but I think we're on. All right. And now the final step here is to put our pressure plate bolts in with a whopping, what did you say?
14 to 19 foot-pounds, or
all
168 to 228 inch-pounds.
Now here's my one little tip. So when you're putting this together and you're tightening down your pressure plate, I always like to push up on our centering pin here for the clutch, because usually it sags just enough where when you're trying to put the transmission, there's a bit of a struggle. So I find pushing this up just a smidge and then tightening down these bolts will help fitment of the transmission. So that concludes our clutch and flywheel install, and now comes the fun part, putting this all back together.
Well, we are pretty much buttoned up under here now. The transmission's in place, the drive shaft's in place, the PPF's bolted back in.
DP,
Yep.
I'm going to just say it's a pain in the ass to work on this car.
It really is. It's
small.
It's a small, simple car, but this
Rusty.
particular job was not great.
Yep.
A lot of snap bolts and just confined spaces. Anyway, we powered through it, Pete. We powered through it.
did.
And here we are addressing an issue that you guys actually raised in the comment section, and that is the transmission fluid. A lot of you commented that the rear end can take GL5 fluid like we used. We used Valvoline's full synthetic 75W90 both in the diff and in the transmission. But many of you raised the point that this transmission actually has a lot of yellows and like brass and coppers, and those don't like GL5. I don't quite understand the metallurgy or the science behind that, but apparently there's some additives in the GL5 that don't get along well with those yellow metals. So you guys were recommending GL4. That being said, I looked in the factory manual and it actually says the transmission is both GL4 and GL5 compatible. But obviously you guys have 20 years of experience running Miatas and we have none. So we're gonna take your advice and go to the GL4 fluid. And for that, we just so happen to have a ton of this Valvoline MTF kicking around, which was a little confusing at first because it doesn't say what weight it is, and it doesn't say what GL rating it is. But I dug up a technical information sheet off of Valvoline's site about this fluid, and it is in fact GL4 75W90. So it's perfect for this transmission. So we're gonna pop 2.1 quarts or 2 liters of this stuff into the gearbox here, and I think we should officially be good to go. So
Fire up that
crack
motive.
that valve on our motive power filler here, and
Look at this thing.
we are gonna be good to go here.
Normally, to wrap up this episode, we would bolt the exhaust system on. However, I in turn have removed the header. That's because of our wonderful snapped studs. Look at those guys, they are donezo, which means a future episode of installing a new aftermarket header and exhaust system. So that is coming up soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, by all means, give me a thumbs up and make sure to hit that notifications bell so you stay up to date with all our videos, and check out our social media to keep up to date with all the stuff that's going on.
Oh, bend it. Oh.
See, it's on this. Oh. It's just like, oh my God.
Hanging up on everything?
It's hanging up on everything. I'm gonna have to get that sensor out. Wow. All right. Well, you know what? I can sit here like this. I'm okay with that.